Eric, you've been busy?
Nope.
Nope.
Taking a week off.
And did you really? Well, it's hard telling. I know you were up north there last week. Before.
Yeah, there's no fish in Moosehead.
No. Helps if you actually get out there and fish.
I did every day,
Did you?
all day.
Hmm? All right, I've got 5 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order today, Monday, March 4th, 2024. Roll call, we have Selectman Howdy Goodwin, Eric Eaton, Mackenzie Jewett, Kevin Buck, myself, Jamie Thurlow, Town Manager Jesse Dunbar, and Town Clerk Sarah Abbott. Is there adoption of agenda? Is there anything anyone would like to change on the agenda? I was going to add an executive session if everyone was fine with that for personnel matters. Do you want a motion on that or a vote?
A motion, yes,
Yeah,
add
okay.
the end.
I make a motion to add executive session for personnel matters at the end of the meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to add an executive session titled Personnel Matters at the end of the meeting. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, approval of minutes. We have the minutes from Tuesday, February 20th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 20th, 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from Tuesday, February 20th, 2024. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
I'm going to
You guys weren't here,
abstain.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Approval of warrants. We have warrant number 76 for $14,876.58. 77 for $1,945. 78 for $1,284.06. 79 for $15,174.19. Warrant 80 for $28,716.84. 81 for $22,029.87. And 82 for $237.50.
I make a motion to approve warrants 76 through 82.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve warrant 76 through 82. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right, next we have committee appointments. We have the Public Safety Building Committee, and we have one spot open, and I believe we actually have 2 applicants. We have Dave Ashworth and Daniel Reed. I know Dave's here. I don't know if Daniel's here. I wouldn't recognize him, but is there anything you'd like to add?
I was planning on joining the committee simply because to fill in the empty spot.
Mhm.
If Daniel's interested, I'll forego that. We have a representative on the committee already. And I was just doing it as a member,
Mhm.
as a resident of Tremont.
Okay, no, thank you.
I'll make a motion to appoint David Ashworth to a seat on the Public Safety Building Committee expiring June 30th, 2027.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint David Ashworth to the seat on the Public Safety Building Committee, term expiring June 30th, 2027. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Okay, we're on to regular business already. First thing we have is law enforcement contract proposals. And we have contracts from Southwest Harbor and from Bar Harbor, Mount Desert. And also we have an updated contract for Hancock County Sheriff. We have both Bar Harbor, Mount Desert, and Southwest Harbor here. So if anybody has any questions, or would you guys like to kind of give a brief summary, or would you rather wait for questions?
We can. I know Southwest comes first on your agenda, so.
Oh. You can rock, paper, scissors
Yeah,
if you
right.
wanna, yeah.
Unless Chief Hall, you're good.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate the opportunity to present that to you. I knew coming down that that was gonna be a topic that would come up every once in a while, and had in the past. And so I just approached it from a different angle as some of the other people before me had done. And just trying to keep it very simple and straightforward as far as, there's no large capital outlay on our part. We're not, requiring you to do anything. We're just gonna expand our response area. And that's, as far as the number of complaints, town manager and I have had a couple different discussions about the accuracy of all of that. It's not that big of a deal as far as our department, as far as our officers handling the extra complaints that come about. And I know that a lot of the expression or the comments that have been expressed to me has been concern about response time and just generally being there when someone called. And that's pretty much the way I look at it. Took it from there. So I guess you all have a copy of it if there's a specific question that I haven't addressed previously with some of the other meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm David Kearns, Chief of Desert in Bar Harbor. This is Captain Wharf. He's second in command, also shared between Bar Harbor and Mount Desert. So this is the first time that we've been asked to create a proposal for you folks. We kind of took a holistic approach of what we're doing within our two communities for the last 10 years. And realistically, before we combine, we always had a minimum staffing of 2 in Bar Harbor, 1 in Mount Desert, and that's what we kept in those two communities throughout our combining. And this was no different for us. If you truly are asking for law enforcement services, we wanted to provide you to make sure that you had somebody in your community for that time frame, which is 24/7. I know that might sound daunting, but I think that's really what you're looking for with what I was asked by Jesse, Dudbury Town Manager. Really, the response times would be you would have somebody within your jurisdiction at all times. We would create a new police zone. That's why our figure is probably a little bit higher than everybody else's. You have 4 officers it's going to take to fill you 24/7. That's 168 hours in a week. 4 officers will get you 160. The 5th position in there is a corporal. I do not have any current midnight supervision for any of my midnight guys. And I thought that being as far out of our jurisdictions as Tremont can be at times, it would require some supervision on that midnight shift. So that is the addition to that 5th spot, which would also cover the open 8 hours. When I talked to our two communities, they were really focused on the fact that we're not going to be subsidizing Tremont, and I said I'll put together a proposal that doesn't indicate that we're subsidizing anything. This is a contract for you for 24/7 coverage for law enforcement services for Tremont. So, and if we are selected for the proposal to move forward, these are an estimate. I've only done this with my 2 town managers. Our boards, I've kept this out of our public realm because I figured this was an issue for you folks. So that will need to be negotiated and worked through for the finer details of the proposal. But I think I've dialed it in pretty close, so it's not going to be too far.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Questions? Does anybody have any questions in the audience, and then anybody on the board to ever? Yes,
I
Larry.
have a few, to both of you, Southwest, Officer of Fall Harbor, does it have to go in front of your voters?
So, no. If we do it within Bar Harbor and Mount Desert, both the town council in Bar Harbor, as well as the select board in Mount Desert, have to agree to the terms of the contract. And so they'll work hand in hand with Tremont to hammer out the details. But no, it's truly no tax burden on either of our communities, so it would truly just be a contract service to Tremont.
Yeah. Same as Southwest.
Same as Southwest.
Question for Southwest, would Southwest Harbor be prioritized over Tremont at any time when there's calls in each area?
No, the calls are prioritized by the nature of the call. So if there's an injury or something here, and we're at something else that's not as a high priority, we would leave and you know, come here. It is prioritized. Yeah.
Not by town, but by.
No, not by town, but by nature of the call.
Okay. And Bar Harbor Mountain Reserve, do they, how much do you estimate that the price would go down after this first year?
In the proposal, I think dropped, so estimated 3% COLA, just as a ballpark, it went down to 650, 651. And then 3% each year after that, so over 5 years, it gets back up to that initial cost. But that first year is substantially more, 51,000, 53,000. So, and really that covers the cost of equipping the officers, that upfront cost, as well as the cruiser. And you would have one that would just be added to the fleet for us, so it wouldn't be a cruiser specific for Tremont. You'd get, so even like, say for instance, right now mine's at Bangor Ford getting service for warranty. If that happens, a cruiser that we purchased for this contract, you would just get another cruiser out of our fleet that would have rolled. So those are the big upfront costs, and then it drops that first year, or second year down to like 651.
Yes, Mark?
For Southwest, what's the proposed police budget for this year?
The
Proposed police budget for Southwest this year?
So the police budget's about 800,000.
Does that include dispatch?
No, that's a separate number. So we're about 1.2 million.
Okay. And Dave did answer one of the questions I had. It was about 24/7 coverage. He said that they have somebody patrolling town 24/7. You guys aren't really offering that, correct?
Well, we will be when we're up to full staff, and that is our current problem, and that is being addressed through our.
But it would be 24/7 shared between Southwest and Tremont.
Yes.
Whereas they're gonna have an officer full-time in Tremont, basically. Is that correct, Dave?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, one more.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
go ahead, Mark.
Okay, so, right now you have somebody on call, you don't have 24/7 coverage and somebody patrolling 24/7 in Southwest, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
The evening shift goes home at 2 in the morning,
Yeah,
and then either he or I are on call, or, yeah.
and where do you and that officer live?
Ellsworth.
Ellsworth, okay. Thank you.
Guys have any questions?
In the Bar Harbor contract, I think you mentioned something about training, and I wasn't quite sure what that meant. It looks like that might be an additional charge, is that correct?
Well, it depends on, so adding officers to it depends who we get for applicants.
Yeah.
If we have a law enforcement officer that is certified as a full-time officer in the state of Maine, so it's hard to estimate who we're gonna draw more pull from. Realistically, if you have an officer that's a blue bin that comes in, no, it won't be any additional training for that officer. If we're gonna hire 5, I would say probably at least 3 of them will.
Yeah.
Just by ballpark, if not all 5. So realistically, the cost of the academy right now, I think is around $3,500, $4,000, which is not really the cost of the big cost of the training. It's
Yeah.
backfilling that position with overtime. So as we move into this, if we are selected, we really have to look and hammer out those details between the 2 towns to figure out if we are going to cover those and we need to send people to the academy, how that looks and how we're gonna foot the bill for backfill and cost ones.
Okay,
So I think that's some of, moving forward, what we need to look at. Realistically, I also have a footnote in there for ours in the memo, that contract beginning opposed to service start, maybe two different things.
Yeah.
I'd love to say I could do 5 officers just like that, but in the realistic world that we're in right now, it may take some time to recruit. I think the one thing that I can say is we're a little bit picky on who we hire. I won't say that in a mean way, but I don't want to bring just anybody into the fold for our agency just to fill spots. We've done that as well within our own openings where we'll fill it with overtime until we can find the right person that fits the culture of the agency and how we like to fill these.
Okay. Which kind of brings up another question to me is hiring. Are you pretty successful at it? Because I know we've been dealing with that issue a lot for a while, and I know most businesses are having a real challenge. And if two-part question, sorry. and if you're not, do you have staff that are willing to put in the overtime? Because that's an issue too.
Yeah, so we do have the staff that's willing to put in the overtime. Unfortunately, I just did payroll today. So we do have officers willing to put in the overtime. The hard part with recruitment and retention right now, especially for law enforcement, is just the wages have not kept up with the rest of the economy. So you can go work doing something that's a 9 to 5, home at night with your family and weekends and holidays where, law enforcement really, especially 24/7, is you have to find the right people to do it. So I think next year we're going to be doing the salary survey for Barb or Mount Desert just to make sure that we can attract good qualified candidates here on the island, because unfortunately we kind of are the end of the road. They go through Ellsworth, Hancock, the state, to get down here, and the cost of living is not on the cop's wage isn't quite affordable. So recruitment is going to be hard for us. We have done a pretty good job building some of our waiting on the wings people from our parking program, which has helped. But right now we are going to have 2 vacancies with the retirement of the former chief, and then another sergeant. We're scooping out all those people to fill our own vacancies. So it will be a challenge. I think we can do it. The bigger the agency gets, the more attractive it is for other people to take the trip down to the island and commute the summer traffic. So we're willing to give it a shot.
Okay. Kind of the same questions, I guess, with you in Southwest too. I mean, I understand you've had some contract issues that have made hiring difficult, but do you?
Yeah, our issue right now is tied up with the union, which these guys are blessed to not have that as an issue, but for us, as soon as the language is changed and we get the pay up to where it needs to be competitive with everyone else, I think we'll have, we're different, departments different, communities, so we just have a different offering, that's all.
And I had a question to go along with the hiring and stuff. I know you said you didn't want to commit to anything, or you didn't want to start until you were fully staffed. Do you have a rough, I know it's so hard to guess, but do you have like a rough idea on how long that could take? Just so I feel like we need to, we need to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row if we did choose that path.
Yeah, I think as soon as I know the direction that you guys are heading, I think I can start to do some anticipatory hiring stuff, which will at least get people in the queue. The other part of that we've looked at with our own schedule, right now we run a combination of 10-hour shifts and 8-hour shifts. We've talked to our staff about it. I think we have some buy-in that if we needed to switch up our current schedule to run either 8s or 12s, or a combination of both. We could get some additional officers within our own current staffing levels, but backing them out of 10-hour shifts with some overlap. But that's a decision the two towns have to make as well.
Yep.
I think from an agency standpoint, knowing that if you guys are willing to take it on as a contract and the two towns are willing to do it, I think that's something that our agency is willing to consider, at least to get us through. And knowing that it's not a long-term fix.
Yeah.
12-hour shifts, the guys are all excited about it today. I said, wait till you get forced over for 12 hours.
I was just gonna say
Yeah,
that.
I've seen
You
that.
get burned out on those quick. Been there.
So, with the experience that I've had with 12-hour shifts, they're rough. But I'm willing to take it on to try that, at least to get us through until we
Yep.
get our staff and levels where we need to be. So, I think there's some conversations to be had there. The other part, I know I had conversations with both you and Jesse when we met, but I would love to say that we could try to piecemeal our way into it. And I'm hesitant about doing that because I don't want to deliver a subpar service. If you're picking us for a contract, I want to make sure we're providing the level of service that we want to provide. And if we try to do it without being a full complement where we can give that, I just feel like some people might have hesitation about, Jesus, should we really have done this? And I don't want to kind of go into it without really being at full complement.
Yeah.
So, but I think those conversations with our schedule can really get us to a level where we could start sooner than, as soon as we could without increasing our staff.
Yep. Okay, thanks.
Is that the same case with Southwest? I mean, our current contract with law enforcement expires June 30th. We're looking to continue that or go into the next thing without a gap in between.
Yeah, so for us, since I'm currently trying to hire, your decision is not affecting my decisions to hire.
Okay.
So if you select us, we can start right off the bat, July 1, because it's just, we're just moving the boundary really,
Okay.
or, a couple of miles. And the officer that's here, patrolling the whole area. So, but and again, as soon as I get word from the union, I can start advertising, but right now I can't advertise.
Roughly when does that happen for you, the union thing?
Well, I hope the meeting coming up in 2 weeks will be productive enough, and if both sides can verbally agree, then
Yeah.
before it's signed, I think I can start throwing some stuff out. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
really all.
All right. Because our town meeting's May, what?
14.
14?
Jesse, what are the increase to taxpayers for all these three from this year?
So your current budget prepared for you has the Bar Harbor proposal in it, since that was the highest. So you could see the full amount. So with Bar Harbor's in there, the increase on a $250,000 home is $48 a month. That includes all the budget, including the school.
The school, everybody.
Everybody.
Even us.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
What?
Which you can break that down. I mean, I can tell you, you take a $150,000 house, it's $28 a month.
Where do they have those?
A lot of them says $150, believe it or not.
Yeah. That'll change next.
That's like a magic number.
And as a reminder, you are doing a reval, which will affect this budget, and there's just no estimate until it's done.
Okay,
So
so-
some will be more than $48 a month, some will be less than $48 a month.
That's better than I thought.
Based on the valuation.
Do you have I know, to go with Eric, do you have an exact on what it would be per 100,000 evaluation,
For each one.
one?
I can get it, just a second.
I know you usually had a way you would calculate that.
You want it per 100,000?
Yeah, well, it's just easy, cause then you can
Okay.
say, oh, my house is valued
Okay.
at 400,000, so I know it's gonna affect me by
So per
this.
100,000, the Bar Harbor proposal in our whole budget with everything else in our budget is 1925 a month increase.
And you can't depict just the increase in law enforcement?
I can check changes.
Well, I don't, you
No,
don't have to do
that's-
much work, I was just wondering, I figured you read my mind before it came in, had it all done.
I know.
How's that work out for you
Yeah.
usually?
Not good usually.
Southwest would be 1442 a month increase.
So
Per
1920
100,000.
Yeah.
per 100,000, yep.
And Hancock would be. $11.17 per month
1117.
increase.
So another $4, 18 for Bar Harbor, roughly?
$8.
8,
Huh?
8 for Bar Harbor,
Yeah, yeah.
between Hancock and Bar Harbor.
And that's given everything that we have passes, the school budget passes, everything
Correct.
else passes, so
That's
it's not just law
Okay.
enforcement,
Right,
Yeah.
that's
all of
everything.
it, yeah.
So if that's on, I mean, I feel like 300,000 is somewhat maybe average in this town now. It's hard to say, cause I
Hard
bet
to
it's
say.
more,
I mean,
after this reval, it's probably gonna be like 450, but, so that is
A little less than 60 bucks.
Yeah, $60.
Yeah.
$693 a year is what it is for,
For a $300,000 house.
for a $300,000 house, is $693. Let me just do the. $519.12. $402.12.
That much difference?
No, so it's, yeah, this is on 300,000, so Hancock, there, what it would be going to with Hancock County would be 402.12. And Southwest Harbor would be 519.12, and Bar Harbor's would be 693. This would be your increase on $300,000.
For the year.
Your tax bill,
Yep, to the taxpayers, yep.
yearly tax.
Yes.
I think those
You-
numbers are
you wondering
important to
about my math?
understand,
Yeah.
because when you look at 700 or
That
400 or
doesn't sound
200,
No, I know.
I mean, people get like,
Doesn't sound right.
when you break it down smaller, I mean, it's still not,
I mean, 'cause
On,
if you look
but
at
it's
2
less
times
scary.
$19 is,
Right.
you're looking at 60
So-
bucks.
So theoretically, you've always had Hancock,
1925 a month.
so unless you
I
want
thought
no
that was a year.
police,
Is that monthly?
your budget
Oh,
with
okay,
everything in it
okay.
is going to be $11 a month more
Okay.
going forward.
It's
Okay,
230.
okay,
If you
that
want
makes
to
sense.
switch
Yeah, yeah.
One per
to
100,000.
full-time,
Yeah, I was thinking,
it's
thinking there was
14
an
or
annual.
18. There's no increase below 11.
right, that's what we're gonna,
Take
yeah,
that
okay. Oh. And I have one more question about, since we're talking about money, Southwest Harbor, Bar Harbor broke it down for like 5 years. You have 402,000 this year. Do you know, like next year and the year after and the year after-ish, or? I know it's hard to guess, but
Well,
any,
Jesse and I had had a conversation about that just the other day. Part of our number going down minus the COLA increases, but right now, the town of Southwest Harbor, fire department, the ambulance, and now police coverage. There's 3 different formulas, if you wanna call them formulas, for dispatch services. We would rework that to a per capita, so it's one number, so that the fire department doesn't get a bill, the ambulance service doesn't get a bill from us. We just charge the town a value based upon per capita. That's what some of the other more complex settings do. It's an easier formula to work, it's an easier formula to understand. So our dispatch fee would get drastically reduced in that.
So second year into this contract, it would be less than 402,000?
Yes, if that is how we decided to rework the other dispatching agreements. We just kind of lump it all into one based upon per capita,
Okay.
which is gonna significantly, it would significantly reduce what I use for just law enforcement services. And I did not look at it as far for the ambulance and fire, but it would.
Okay.
So does that,
Or hang on, Keith had something first down front, and then I'm
I
gonna
have a
get.
lot.
Yeah.
All right, I don't believe in math, I was Tremont, so, but anyhow, my thing is, I guess, I'm wondering where we got to this point. I didn't know if there was a lot of complaints or a lot of unresponded to calls, or, I'm just playing the naysayer back and forth, but, we're looking at $35 million for a school in the next 2 years, 3 years. We're looking at a new public safety building, we're looking at town, I think that might be under grant, we're looking at a new, town wharf, and there's a couple other major things that the town's coming up on in the next year, so I didn't know something. I know it's only $500,000 difference we're talking about right now, but, as a pretty substantial landowner myself, and thinking about our own budgets within, I don't know if we should really have some real numbers printed out showing where, I know we're getting reevaluated, but in my sense, we reevaluate, we change mill rates, people's, it doesn't mean we suddenly made more money, we can spend more money, we should, you know, I think we can have a lot of pushback if we start to throw, I mean, so we start with this program here, and then next year we go with the school and the public safety building. I'm kind of thinking selfishly about the public safety building, but I just don't know where the bubble's gonna burst, that people can say this all happened within a 2 or 3 year window. That's my only thought.
Well, I kind of agree with you because of the increase of last year, and then we've already had quite an increase this year for the school and stuff, and that worries me for the taxpayers. To add another increase, nothing against you guys, but, you know, how much do we need 24/7 compared to, and if Hancock County was here fulfilling their contract, you know, does that agree with our town, what we need? And, you know, if they are fulfilling the contract, then yes, because we agreed to that, but, yeah. So, I'm with you, and I kind of am skeptical to move forward with an increase of protection if we don't really need it, but maybe we do, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
So-
my argument was more that, I don't know, I mean, even, one thing I left out was redistricting the schools, so I guess if we kibosh a school, that just, you know, is unfair that, and basically eliminate the idea of redistricting the schools, and I think there's just so many things that are out there that people can't really, I personally, I mean, aside from law enforcement, I can see the school could get away with a lot less, but that, I don't wanna see you start compromising law enforcement and compromising school and other things until we really, I don't know, camp comprehensive plan have really looked at this entirely, but again, if we don't have law enforcement and we definitely need it, then I think it should be a priority, but I think when we start throwing out numbers, we should let people see, I mean, I just did Jesse's math, I'm looking at no more vacations for me next winter, if the taxes are going up that much.
You don't have to lie to us, but.
But all you have to do is open up the newspaper, clearly we need police protection in this town. I mean, that's clear.
Yeah.
Sure.
And the numbers are scary, but I mean, yes, we're making the school a priority or your fire station or whatever. This needs to be a priority also,
Yeah.
but.
And I think that's how we get here, is we've had a lot of complaints. We also have not been getting, I mean, we've been contracted 45 hours for like, what, this is the second course, isn't it, of over 3 years, and we're averaging about 20 hours a week. People are complaining about real long wait times, and so this was our time to, when the contract's up again, this is when we this is when we look into it again. And I think as far as the school, I mean, you know as well as I do, we're both on the building committee for the school, that's a long ways down the road, if it ever happened. I think that dollar amount is way north of where it would be. And I think that's just ideas, and they're way down. You're 5-10 years out. So I don't think that's something that will be affected. And like the town wharf, that was just something that was brought up. That was a grant, but that was through grant funding. So I know we have to do a safety building is one of the ideas, but we've just keep putting away money each year for that and slowly build up to it. But no, that's how we get to where we are as far as why we're bringing it up this time. Yes.
I just wanted to add something into that as well. When Jesse had first reached out to us, and I think it was about doing contract service for less than 24/7. The only, from a law enforcement perspective, whether it's us, Southwest, Hancock, if we only provided a certain amount of hours to you a week, it starts getting really segmented into who covers you at certain hours when we're not here, which can lead to those response issues and follow-up issues. So that was one of the things when Jesse and I first talked was, I said, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do the whole thing. So the 24/7 may have got there a little bit because I pushed the issue as far as our proposal. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there as well. Because I don't, if we're not covering you except for 40 hours a week, then it goes back to the sheriff's office or the state police, which then if state police gets a complaint here, doesn't pass the information, like it just gets messy. So I guess I just wanted to clarify, that's where our 24/7 insistence came from if we were going to do that.
Yep, thanks. Yes, Lee.
I have two questions. What about, actually a comment about when we started with the county sheriff back in the early 2000s, I think it was $50,000. And of course it went up and they were doing 40 hours because we didn't have anything to compare it to before. We didn't have much, didn't have anything. But I think we have evolved past that. Now we're up to 200,000 for them for 45 hours, which they don't get close to. And I think we gotta bite the bullet. More people are coming over here now, summer people and tourists and all that. And I think we gotta bite the bullet. And my question for Baja Officer, would we get so we would call 911 if we need the police, but also we would call Bar Harbor for a complaint or something?
Yep.
And so does that mean that we won't need to pay so much to Southwest Harbor for dispatch?
That's a Jesse question.
So the only thing that gets paid to Southwest for dispatch right now is through the fire department budget. That's the only, which goes through, the fire department pays it.
So we dispatch the ambulance through there?
Yes, and that's paid by the ambulance service directly to the dispatch.
Okay. So that was-
I have a question for Jesse.
Okay.
Sorry.
Mackenzie and then Carrie and then
I
Mark.
just- Did you invite the sheriff's department to tonight's meeting?
Yes.
Okay, Carrie.
This is for Southwest. I know you said that, to him, that you said that you guys have done two and are on call, but, and that you live in Ellsworth. I know that Lieutenant Burke, most of the time ends up on staying in Southwest, so somebody's there, is that true?
Yes. So he does that just because if he's working the evening, ends up, he has to come back to work the next day shift. It's just the way the schedule is kind of tied up, so he will spend the night here in Southwest. Currently that is something that he's just volunteered to do. It's not something that we're set up to be doing. But that will stop once we get the other two positions. I was explaining to Jesse the other night, we had a call at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I got called up to Southwest. The call stopped or ended here in Tremont, right at the market. But
I was listening, so Hancock wasn't covering this area. Took care of the problem, got back to my station, and about a half an hour later, the trooper showed up. You know, so we're you know, it's minutes for me, just because I'm used to that type of stuff. But, and I was explaining to Jesse too, as far as the per call. So that was a call that went to 911, went to Hancock, went to the state police, and it went to us. So 3 calls for the same incident, for the same incident. So who are you gonna bill if we're doing per call? You're gonna get billed, you know, you're gonna end up paying 3 times for, and that was why I was suggesting changing everything to a per capita, because it will, you know, it just makes it much simpler, easier, less expensive, and just makes it cleaner.
You're talking about dispatch.
Dispatching, yes.
How many officers do you have in Southwest now?
So right now we have 3. We have
Okay.
one that is going to the academy. He'll be starting patrolling here in a month, and then I have the 2 openings.
Okay. And Bar Harbor, and Mount Desert?
So we've got 21.
Okay.
We have 1 test, a main drug. I'm doing sergeant promotions this week for 2 slots, and then we have 2, we will have 2 openings for that, which fill the top down. So the chief spot and the sergeant spot really was a trickle down. So we'll be hiring 2 patrol officers coming up within the next 2 weeks.
Okay, and if we agree to this contract with you, it'll go up to
So-
27 to 28?
Yep.
Okay.
That's correct.
Now, if you're covering Tremont, is it gonna be pretty much dedicated officers or just rotating through the staff, whoever's?
I see that, to begin with, I would like to get the majority of the guys over here to cycle through so they learn the community, understand the community. I think eventually, like right now, we're broken down into 3 patrol zones between the 2 towns. We have certain guys that enjoy working certain zones, so I can see that's something that down the road, probably we would have officers that would specifically want to work what we're gonna call zone 4. But to begin with, I wanna make sure that everybody is over here. The other part of what we do as far as pass-ons between shifts, so say you've got a guy that's working 4 10s, so he's got 4 shifts, and he pulls a burglary complaint or theft complaint in Tremont, that gets put on a shift pass-on between the officers. So the next guy that's coming to Tremont already knows that information going into it. So it's not left just hanging there.
Okay.
So, even though somebody may not be dedicated here, the information gets passed on between shift to shift or who's in what zone for what they do.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
To be a little bit of the devil's advocate here, I was told earlier that the Southwest Harbor Police budget was like $800,000 this year, so give or take. And what they're offering us is $400,000. Okay, half the budget and they're not increasing any services. They're just going to basically drive through town a few more times a day or a few times per day and respond to emergencies. Is that correct? Am I missing something here?
So all I did for numbers was divide our full staff, not my salary, but divide our patrol staff salary in half. And then use that plus half the gas and half the allotment for vehicle maintenance as far as for the salary part of it, which is where I came up with the dividing my police budget and then my dispatch budget. So as far as it was, you know, we're gonna spend half the time in Southwest and half the time here. I don't know if that,
Well, it just seems to me that, are we subsidizing your police, Southwest Harbor's police budget or not?
no, because we're gonna be doing what we're doing anyway.
Half and half.
I think what he said, Mark, just to clear, I'm pretty sure that, you're figuring in dispatch as well, is what we are in the 400,000. And you said with dispatch, you were like 1 mil, what was your?
Oh, 1.2.
Yeah, okay, so I think
Yeah.
the, with dispatch, it's
So
1.2, so I think, so it's not exactly half. If, I think I get what you're asking, and I get what you're, yeah, I believe is how it is.
Dispatch is
Yeah, so there's-
91,000 of the 400.
It is, okay. I thought I asked that before, and I thought you said that, I must have misunderstood. Okay. But that includes fire dispatch, right?
No, totally separate.
No, it's totally separate. Yeah, that's why going forward, looking at, just combine everything into one and bring it down to a much more understandable, number, less complicated all the way around.
All right. Any more questions? Eric, anything?
Well, I don't know.
No, I just didn't know if you knew anything.
This is whatever the, yeah, what do the people in the community want, and
Mhm.
how much do they wanna spend, so.
Jamie, that would
Yes.
eliminate other costs like the ACO of the town by having a full-time department of barber.
One did offer and one didn't, right? I think Southwest didn't include that.
Southwest did not, and I needed to double check with Dave, I can remember.
Yeah, and I think after I had submitted the proposal, I just don't know how many dog calls you guys would handle in the year.
A lot. That's these two right here. You can't take it back.
Well, no, so the difference between our ACO, so our ACO that we have for Bar Harbor and Mount Desert, he does a lot of the dog licensing stuff all up there, make sure that, but we don't call him out on a regular basis for dog complaints, we handle those. So unless it's something where a dog needs to be taken out, placed in a shelter or whatever, that's probably the only time that we have our ACO get involved. So if you're having a lot of those calls, maybe we need to talk, but most of the dog complaints probably is gonna be handled by a police officer.
Yep, okay.
So.
Keith, you can go on vacation.
Yeah, there you go.
Stuff like that, or having actually someone at the school in the morning when the buses go through.
Yeah.
Is actually a pretty decent idea.
Mhm.
I'd also like to see the police get involved with the school, walk through the school, have lunch with the kids once in a while, you know, just get to know some of the police officers.
Yeah.
We also, we do have a Officer Tim who is at the high school now.
Yeah.
So he's kind of part of our package. I did not really want to broach that because we have some communities that we police for that don't necessarily like cops in schools. So, it's a.
That's a
fun-
slippery slope, I
It's a
guess,
slippery
yeah,
slope.
no.
By all means,
Yeah.
he would be, if he's welcome in your school, we would very
Yeah.
much like to have him here.
Yeah,
So,
no, he's great.
And that's part of the package. I did not put that in there purposely.
It's controversial sometimes, but yeah,
That's, yes.
yeah, I think that's important, so. My kids are out of school, so.
Larry, did you have one more thing? Okay. All right, yeah, I think at least I want some time to think it over.
Yeah, we should
Yeah,
think it over, talk
absolutely.
it over, for
Yeah.
sure.
And then, how we put this on, no matter what. We don't have enough time to get it on a regular ballot, so we'll just put it on town meeting.
That's probably gonna be a better
Okay.
option, yes.
There's not enough time to put it on the ballot?
If they decide next Monday, then there's enough time.
Yeah, but that would include all of your
But that-
public
that's-
hearings and everything.
That's a secret ballot.
Yeah,
that's
that would be a secret ballot.
If you did it on the floor of town meeting, can it be a secret yes or no in the box, or does it have to be a I raise my card kind of vote?
Yeah, it can be a secret, because we always do a,
And for money, we
Yeah.
But there's certain rules with
Oh,
those.
there is, okay.
And I don't, maybe this follows, maybe doesn't, I don't know, I'm
We'd
just,
have to double check.
okay. Because I do think that people have a strong feeling either way, and I do think it should be a private vote. Maybe I don't want to hold my card up next to my neighbors who disagree with me, So if it could be in the box on the floor of town meeting, maybe that's a better way to go, but
We can
Yeah.
check that.
if not, then okay.
Yes, Mark?
Are you proposing to put all three on the warrant and let the voter choose, or just narrow it down to one?
No, I think at least I was thinking we would make our decision and then have the voters vote on that. Yeah.
So one,
Approve the
one
amount.
option.
Yeah, approve the amount, yeah. I think if we put all three, that could be asking for a mess, that would just be
That's fun,
So what
counting Sarah.
happens if it fails? Does it default to Hancock County then?
No, so if you're making a motion at town meeting on the article, somebody's gonna make the motion for what's printed in the warrant, and it's gonna have an amount. If that fails, somebody has to make a motion for a different amount.
Okay, so it has to be written, so it can't be amended then. Okay.
Well, I think you can reduce the amount on the warrant. You can't increase it, correct?
They just have,
Right, can't exceed.
Yeah.
on the
You
ballot,
can-
they just have to make their decision by next month. meeting. For the ballot.
I see you get a lot more turnout with voting on ballots than you do. The town meeting is,
Yeah.
But if it's important to people, they'll come.
Meeting too, so that people.
We've had pretty good turnouts from law enforcement involved, Keith.
I know, and I think, it's just unrealistic to try to get it, because we need to have a public hearing before that, don't we? We don't have to have one? Okay, thought we had to have
You'll
one.
have it in April,
Okay,
after you make.
I thought we had to have one between now and then, and I was like, there's no way we can get two meetings.
All you have to have is a decision by Monday, right?
Yep,
There's no way you can do that, right?
well, I
They
don't
can
know,
make
that's
it
up to the
at
board.
meeting.
That's, yeah,
Yeah,
I
It's a
really
lot
think
to-
we should have a public hearing and a ballot, we could go in and vote, vote day.
mhm,
You get more people involved. And the information out there more because you have a public hearing.
Yep.
It's publicized, not just a select board.
mhm.
But you have a public hearing no matter what.
No,
so if it's on the ballot,
just.
there'll be a
early.
public hearing on April 22nd.
If it's at town
If it's
meeting,
at town meeting is.
is the public,
Yeah.
gotcha, okay.
that's what I thought.
Okay.
It's gonna take up a lot of the town meeting if it becomes.
Yep,
discussion.
yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep, yep.
Especially if it's down to the 41 ward.
Yeah. Now, what if it's, what if you put it on a ballot and it was turned down? Cause if it was, would you have you'd have to have two options or cause I'm just thinking of that way, if it's not on the open floor, where someone could say, okay, we'll go for $200,000, let's just say. How would you do it on a ballot?
When I checked with the MMA, their recommendation was to do it at open town meeting to avoid
Okay.
that problem. But if you want it on a ballot, they suggested two warrant articles, the first being the first choice, the higher amount. And then the second question says, should Article 2 fail above, do you wish to approve the other amount?
But they recommended doing it on open town meeting.
The best option
Mhm.
to avoid,
Yeah.
because theoretically, no could receive most of the votes on both questions.
Mhm.
So then you still have no choice on the ballot.
Okay.
So if it goes to the floor of town meeting, we need to get it out about in the public so people do show up and
Mhm.
yes, we all understand it's gonna be a long meeting.
And we
Right?
could have a public hearing about it ahead of time.
You could, yes.
We don't have to, but we could have one ahead and just, so that people, any questions they had would be answered ahead of time.
Yes.
So I don't mind doing that.
I think having it public, at the town meeting, the regular town meeting's a good idea.
Yeah.
Let people discuss it, and it will be long and it will be painful.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. We'll just, if we did something ahead of time,
We know.
if we did it just that way, we gave plenty of notice to it, and like you said, just need to get the word out
Get
and
it
have
out,
everybody
Are you
show
gonna
up.
choose the contract before the public hearing?
Yeah, in my opinion, yeah, that's what I thought, that probably the board would give its recommendation, and then obviously it would go to voters.
And then, so you come to that meeting with a recommendation, and then
Yes.
people would have all kinds, they'll have their questions.
Yep.
And then on town meeting, we
Mhm.
would vote on it.
Yep. Yeah, I would think within a few meetings, we should, I was thinking that we would have our, decision for our recommendation. Okay. Everybody
That's
good?
better than not- That's better than not having.
Yeah. Okay, thank you both for coming.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, next we have land use ordinance amendments. Mark, that's right up your alley, right there.
I was just here for the police stuff, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Would you like to, explain, Mark, or would you rather have Jesse?
Well, Jesse has, I think what he detailed in the memo, manager's memo, basically, hit all the bases, but I'm certainly happy to address any questions or.
Okay.
I figured I could just go through the pages.
Yeah.
To tell you what the changes are. There's obviously a couple formatting changes you'll see here and there highlighted in red. But starting on the second page under Harbor Shoreland Zone, you'll see the addition of multifamily residential use and its accessory uses. This is a requirement from the state's LD 2003 law that any zone that we allow single family, we have to allow multifamily by July 1st. So you'll see that there, and you'll see it again coming up shortly. On the next page, which is also in Harbor Shoreland Zone, currently it's just worded that the maximum lot coverage is 70%. Which in general is because it's a harbor zone for maritime uses, but it did not contain any difference for the residential, and all your other zones require a limit of 20% for residential. So that suggestion has been made to match the rest of the zones.
Is that gonna be hard though? Just trying to think of a lot of like grandfathered, like
No.
houses down on little lots in the harbor.
If they're grandfathered, they'll be.
Okay, yep.
Same for the next zone, the same 20% residential. And then the one below it, limited residential, is the second multifamily addition, like the first one. Your next couple pages is gonna be the land use table, that Katie has updated in a more reader-friendly format. There's some additions regarding solar. Currently, the land use ordinance does not contain any information regarding solar. So the code office felt that we should clarify if we do and don't need a permit for regarding solar panels. So there's been the addition of solar panels in the land use table and in the definitions you'll see later. And Mark, did the,
Also residential,
Yeah.
accessory dwellings, or
that's what I was looking at.
accessory structures.
So there was an issue, that you're all familiar with the current ordinance requiring accessory structures to residential uses to technically go before the planning board, the way the ordinance is lacking specificity in that area. So the table's been updated, and later on this will get under the code officer's authority. Page 26, they just added some references to DEP chapter 1000, just to clarify what that's referring to. 27, you'll see the footnote for the residential accessory structures that we just spoke about. On page 64, you'll see the addition of the residential accessory structures under CEO's permitting authority. On page 67, you'll see an addition as required by the DEP, that applicants developing within the shoreline zone shall provide pre-construction and post-construction photos of shoreline vegetation. That's required by the DEP. 74 is just a formatting, bumping it up under number 3. No change to what was stated. Page 76, you'll see the addition of the commercial solar energy definition.
And by the way, that refers to businesses, like if Hanson's want to do it, or like my neighbor at the boat yard has solar on the roof, so, that's the commercial aspect.
Yep.
Not the big solar fields.
Yep.
That's industrial.
Yeah, and I think this makes sense because it has no permit necessary if you put solar panels on your roof, which is great, and it just has regular approval for just if you want a small array, like in your back door yard.
Because it's
Yeah.
a structure.
Exactly, it's just like a shed or something,
Approved,
yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
I get it.
79 was just a typo correction. 80, you'll see the industrial solar definition, as well as a definition for industrial use. 81, you'll see the major development definition, which was also proposed in the site plan that you've already looked at. Site plan reviews.
Did you put anything, I know what down in Franklin, that they had to come up with a building permit fee for solar, trying to figure out square footage and stuff, that was pretty important. They had to come up with a set fee for solar and solar fields.
So right now, I'd have to double check with the CEO, but right now, it's just falling under the square footage for a residential.
But I know they were getting like a permit to do an industrial solar field for $20 to cover any impact.
No, I know, like, when they did the one in Southwest up at EMR, that permit for Southwest was like 12,000.
The way this is written right now, the large industrial solar fields, what you think of the big arrays, would not be allowed at this point, because we currently do not have standards in effect to deal with these things. The site plan review is not adequate enough to deal with these things, and we plan on developing those standards before, and then put that before voters at a later date.
Yep. Page 82 is the minor development. And last page 84 is the residential solar definition.
The one exception on the solar fields, the industrial ones, is for the town of Tremont, if they're going to develop something. Yeah.
Well, that's one of the issues I've actually got with some of this. The solar, I mean, we've been working for several years trying to expand the solar array up here to involve community members to be able to go into that. And it looks to me like by saying it can be used off-site, that excludes a community solar farm, just by the definitions.
The definition says municipal.
But that's not, but that's not, yeah, but that's not municipal, Mark.
If it's on town property, though, it should.
But if it's being used by people in town, or maybe not even in town, is that considered municipal at that point? See, that's where
I'm sorry, I was asleep that day in law school.
well, it came out of your committee, Mark. I'm just kind of trying to figure out what you're.
We assumed that this covered that.
Okay,
It
but,
was suggested by our town manager that we, as you said, municipal, change it to town of Tremont.
well,
So, yeah, we were the idea was to try to allow that, yeah.
yeah, okay, well, my reading it looks like it's not allowed. I mean, you know, just reading through it, trying to figure what it means. And I mean, I know you guys did a good job, but that's the part that concerns me.
Why would it be a municipal project?
Well, it's used off-site. And it's not, it's on municipal land. Okay, what if I wanted to do it on a piece of land I owned that's not municipal land, but build a community solar farm so people could subscribe to it? I mean,
You wouldn't do that right now. You'd have to wait until we develop standards.
okay, well, it bothers me passing something that's waiting for a change for something that's pretty accepted practice. I mean,
It's accepted practice.
well, it's done everywhere. I mean,
Yeah, but
it's-
with standards in place, Ellsworth right now has a moratorium on them. Essentially what we've done is we've created a moratorium without a moratorium. Okay, if that makes sense, okay?
Okay, okay.
Because you have to develop standards. I mean, our site plan review is lacking in things like decommissioning, buffering standards. There's nothing about fences that's required for these things, that would be required for these things. There's a lot of issues we need to consider, plus how do they fit into, let's say the comprehensive plan gets adopted, how does this fit into that whole process?
Is this something you plan on addressing soon?
We've been working on it, yeah, a little bit, and yes, we plan on addressing it. We assume it's not gonna go before voters until next year.
This part is.
The new standards for industrial solar arrays
Okay.
won't be
Okay.
probably
Oh.
ready until next year.
Okay, another example, I've got some acreage, and if I wanted to put an array on there that credited my house, I don't think I couldn't build it currently, is that correct?
I'm sorry, say that again?
If I owned some acreage and I want to put a standalone array for my own use to credit my meter at my house, I don't believe this would allow it, is that correct?
I don't, why wouldn't
It says on-site, for on-site use in
okay.
residential.
It said
That
up
wouldn't be
to-
on site.
It said
That would
up to
be-
5,000 square feet was allowed, if you look in the other part of it.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it
That's
says
why I
up
was-
to 5,000 square feet allowed, and but over 5,000 wasn't. That's
Where
what-
was that? I missed
Oh,
that. I'm not trying to give you a hard time.
You're gonna run afoul
Okay.
of the PUC.
What's that?
At some point, you're gonna run afoul of PUC because you'll be a power company.
If you put up a 1,300 kilowatt array, you're not even close.
where was that, Mark, where it says up to 5,000 square feet?
That was
I
under
saw it.
commercial, I saw it, yeah.
76, page 76.
Yeah, that was
76,
under commercial,
Residential,
yeah.
last page.
2,500 square feet.
No, it's
Oh,
gonna be up to
5,000
5,000 square feet in surface
Commercial?
area.
Is that-
You're looking at the commercial. Residential's 2,500.
Last
Residential can only be up to 2,500?
Yeah, that's what we arrived at. I was ambivalent. Frankly, I didn't think we needed to limit, but
Well, I think residential, just in my opinion, should match the commercial, just to be, I can already see you'll have it, there could be a difference between what one or the other, or like something like Kevin saying, something that would be very hard to justify, whether it's a residential or it's a commercial.
I would just love to see the on-site requirement removed. That would satisfy the concerns I've got on those. And I mean, on maybe just on the commercial, and industrial's not allowed anywhere, anyway, at this point, the way it's written.
why
But
not be on commercial?
Well, a residential array is gonna be pretty much used at a residence anyway. Although I just had an example it wasn't, so maybe not.
Would you wanna see that match too, Kevin, the 5? I think the 5,000.
Yeah, I think having the standard should be the same on both, too, the size. But like I say, just that on-site requirement excludes a lot of community solar setups. A lot of people would like to have solar energy, but can't do it on their property for
Right.
whatever reason.
But I
Or
can do that now.
not if it's gotta be used on-site.
No, I can buy into it. There are various solar companies that I can buy into and get without having a solar array.
They're not gonna build it in Tremont if this passes.
What's that?
They're not gonna build it in Tremont if this passes.
Yeah. For now,
Well, until something else has changed.
right.
I hesitate to pass something I don't believe in.
You know as well as I do, the grid is not ready for any of this stuff anyway.
No, a small scale it is, actually. And I mean, they're working on a project today, they're trimming trees for it, where they're upgrading the grid in this area. So it should be ready for a lot more of it right now. I mean, they're currently working on that, Mark.
I'll take that back to the board and we'll see, I guess.
I mean, honestly, I think it's good work. I just, that part in there concerns me a lot.
On site,
On site, yeah.
in only the commercial one.
Probably commercial and residential both, realistically. But I don't think most of it's gonna get exported to a different site. Well, actually, I'm doing it. I've got a solar array that credits the building it's on and my house across the road. So, I mean,
Right.
technically, that wouldn't be allowed now.
No, that would be allowed because it says primarily. or
Primarily.
solely.
Okay,
Doesn't mean exclusively.
okay,
Primarily.
yeah.
So
I
that's
would,
really, we looked at this, that's between you and the power company, not between you and the town.
okay. If I put it on my vacant lot and try to export it, it's not being used on site at all, except for the meter.
If you have, let's say, where it's your vacant lot is, yeah, well, that's an interesting point, yeah. Yeah.
I just.
I don't know where you fall in.
Yeah.
I don't know,
I think if you didn't have it, if it didn't say on-site primarily or solely for residential use, I'd be fine with that. But the on-site requirement on that concerns me. And that, if you didn't have the on-site, that would allow community solar arrays and that type of thing.
actually, what it says is primarily or solely for on-site residential use. It
Mhm.
doesn't say that the array has to be on-site, does it?
Well, isn't that kind of on-site? Isn't that what it means on the same site you're using it?
But it would still be capped at the 5,000 square feet.
Yeah, I've got no problem with the size cap.
Yeah.
It's just, I think a lot of arrays aren't built to be used on that same site. And I don't think we need to exclude those. I mean, again, I think the rest of it's.
We're gonna have a public hearing, on this, next week,
Okay,
next Tuesday.
at the planning board meeting?
Pardon?
At the planning board meeting?
Yes, 6
Okay.
o'clock.
Okay.
But we'll need to have these changes made, if we want changes made, before we vote on it.
Your public hearing's gonna be April 22nd. You can make changes after that. You just
Okay.
need to say that you want these amendments to go on the ballot. But you can change the document contents after that.
So we're just certifying and signing it, but I just saw one
You
thing.
won't, you won't sign it now, you'll have to wait, because you won't change it.
Yeah.
So,
Because
you
I
say
can see
certify
that.
and sign it as amended if you wanna make those amendments.
Yep.
If the board wants to make those amendments now, you can certify and sign it as amended and save the step.
I don't know, I don't understand the on-site part of it, but I do see there being a huge issue with the two different square footages in commercial versus residential. I know is already very hard to distinguish. And how large do you allow a structure in residential? Is there any limit on it, or is it just percentage of?
The only limit, which I'd have to check the zones, is 5,000 square feet.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, if it went, see, that would make sense to make it 5,000, so it's straight across the board, you know?
That would be complete roof coverage, basically a little less with a slope.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
But it doesn't count as, yeah, it doesn't count as coverage if it's on a roof, right? So this is a
Well, but that's,
standalone.
is that what
Per
it is?
structure, you can have 10,000 or 10 of those 5,000 square foot.
Well, it says,
Yeah, per structure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep,
it
perfect.
says, what's it say? Now, on the residential section, can be up to a total of 2,500 square feet of surface area. So, I mean, I'm assuming that's the panel surface, whether it's on the roof or on the ground.
Okay.
I mean, that's, again, that's the way I
Yep.
read that. I don't know if that's what the intention was, Mark.
How do you read it again?
It says, residential solar energy system can be up to a total of 2,500 square feet in surface area.
Right.
And to me, that's surface area of the panels, whether they're mounted on the ground or whether they're on the roof. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And was there a reason, Mark?
Why would it be?
No, because he said there was no limit to what people could put on their houses, they're limited by the size of the roof on their house. This is, my remembrance of your guys' discussion was the numbers were for ground numbers.
It's not the way the definition's written down.
Okay?
Yeah, that's the definition I'm looking at.
So what was
I
the?
remember having that discussion.
Mark, what was the discussion you had on the, you said you discussed it on the 2,500 feet and the
Square feet,
5,000.
yeah.
What was the reason behind
I
doing
think
two
that came
separate?
from basically, some other towns had that sort of thing.
Oh,
It
okay.
seemed like a general rule of thumb.
Okay. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, do you guys, I don't see any issue just doing it 5,000 straight across, that way it's a lot easier
Or
see, for everybody to monitor, and, I mean, what is it?
lines up with the business,
Yeah,
the
no, it lines up
building
with
square
everything
footage and
else. I just
everything.
think it
too,
makes
so,
sense.
yeah.
How many kilowatts is 5,000 approximately?
A lot, probably 30 anyway.
30?
Yeah. Yeah, something around that range, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that's a good size array. Probably actually a little more than that, I would guess. Panels keep getting more efficient. That's a real rough estimate, but
But that's pretty big.
it's a big array. Yeah, I don't think most people would do that.
No, I'm just saying that would be
Yeah,
that leaves plenty of room.
yeah. I understand the, back to the on-site, I understand the concerns there, but I think it eliminates a lot of uses that people would, wouldn't be expecting to exclude, Mark. That's,
Explain what?
I think the on-site thing excludes a lot of installations that most people wouldn't have any objection to. And I think it's one of those that's, would be kind of messy to enforce anyway.
So your argument is, okay, if you have a piece of land out on the Kellytown
Mm-hmm,
and you want to put up a residential solar array,
mm-hmm.
that you should be able to do that even though you don't live there and use that power to offset the cost of electricity at your house, which is somewhere else in town.
Yeah, or more commonly, it's the community solar arrays. People own a piece of them, and that's not built on the site where they're using the electricity.
But then you're talking about the exchange of money, right?
Well, it's costing me something to build my array, no matter where I put it too. Money changes
So
hands there too.
you're a different sort of commercial venture. You really come under industrial.
But the.
By some of the definitions, that's possible. That's my concern.
Yeah.
That's my concern, Mark.
Because you want to build an array and sell some of that power to other people.
But
Well,
wouldn't,
people own part of it. No, it's,
Or
there's,
have them buy into it.
well, there's different setups on that. There's a co-op solar where everyone's a part owner of the array. And they do it, I mean, that's what we've been trying to build out here. And it gets people into solar energy that they can't put on their house, but they are part owners of it. So it's still a residential array, it's just a group of them put together in the same site. And none of that power is being used on that site. That's my concern.
but a community array would be much larger than 5,000 square feet as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so that
But
would kind of be,
Yeah.
out for now anyway.
Yeah,
This
well,
would
the
be,
actual panels.
Why wouldn't the community array that you described come under the municipal exemption?
What if it's not on municipal property?
It's still being administered by the town, right?
No, the town
No.
wouldn't have anything to do with it. I mean, even,
So I'm confused on why this isn't a commercial venture instead of,
okay, my point is, define it commercial or residential is still not allowed. If it has to be used on site.
It has to be,
If that electricity has to be used on site, it's not going to be. It's gonna be disallowed.
What he's saying, Mark, is if I put panels on the roof of one of the buildings at the boatyard,
Yeah.
and then I wanted to power the rental up the road from it as
you
well.
can't do that.
You can't.
You can't do that under, that's what I'm saying, that's why it's worded, it's that you would be coming under commercial solar energy systems. Principally used to capture, hold on here, primarily or solely for on-site. The primarily, kind of work, you know, it's fudging it, but it's like, it's going to allow you to use that power somewhere else. You know, I think the
Well,
way we're looking at it is it's between you guys and the,
I
and the
gotcha.
power company.
Yep.
Why does the town need to get involved with that?
Well, again, take on-site out and the town's not involved.
What's that?
Take the on-site clause out of that and the town's not involved.
Back to the committee.
Yeah. All right,
Public hearing next week. We'll see you there.
so what do we wanna do as a board to go, cause if there are changes that need to be made, we can either, write as amended, and then if the board, if they agree with us, then,
Well, so they
I-
don't have to agree with you,
okay.
Yeah.
just to clarify. It's up to the select board. So if you want to amend them as you just discussed, like, I'll go upstairs and amend them tomorrow, then you can make your motion as it's written, adding word as amended. If you wanna wait and see what the planning board has to say, and look at it, and make your final decision afterwards,
Uh,
We
then
still
you
have
just,
time.
then you just
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
to make your motion tonight to authorize, we place it on the referendum.
Could
Yeah,
other
do that.
changes come from the planning board's public hearing? So
Yes.
we
Yeah,
should wait
Yeah.
for them to
I
have their
would
last
prefer to
public
have the
hearing.
planning board discuss it at the
Yeah.
public hearing.
You
I-
just need to change the motion to authorize me to place it on the referendum.
Okay. And
Don't
just,
say certified.
Don't say as amended, because we don't know what.
No.
Right,
amended.
and
No.
don't say certified.
so the only two things then, Mark, were, square footage, and then, what Kevin was saying about on-site.
I got a question about
5,000 for
square
both.
footage.
I just think it would be so much, so many less headaches. I think it can be open up a can of worms with two different ones, as you know. How that can go back and forth. What's commercial, what's residential?
So when you come to residential, when you were looking at what other towns, communities were doing, and you came up with the 2,500 and 5,000, what's that reason for 2,500? So, I don't know, small properties aren't just covered with solar panels, and then your neighbor's like, well, I don't wanna look at all these solar panels, and that's, I think, why it's 2,500. And you have a lot of whatever roof space on a commercial property that doesn't really get noticed or picked on by the neighbors and everything. So personally, I kinda like the 2,500 and 5,000 just for that reason.
But the way they have it set up, Eric, is it's the same as building a structure, so it's gonna only cover the same square footage as you could do a building.
Right,
So
or
you
they're
could-
gonna have 5,000 or 2,500 on their roof, and now I'm gonna put the other 2,500
Yeah,
over my leach
that's-
field.
But you could still only, like, if you can only build 100 by 100 building, just say, on your property, cause that's all the square footage you had.
Right.
Your house could only be half of that, and your solar could only be the other half, because you can't go beyond, so it wouldn't allow you to cover your lot with it, because you'd still only be allowed that many same square footage that you would be allowed if you put garages on there or whatever.
Right, but you would still be residential if you were building more garages and stuff, you're still a residential.
Yeah.
How much power do you really need to supply a house? I'm not sure, I don't
Yeah.
know those numbers.
Yeah, I don't either.
But you would want more for a larger commercial building, that makes more sense, it costs more to run it.
Mhm.
I don't know, I know there's a chance that people will just overbuild their site, and it's gonna piss everyone off around them, and I don't know. That's just what I'm looking at.
Yeah, the eyesore.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
Yeah. Yeah,
How much power do you need for your house? I don't know.
No, I know, but I just don't agree because of the, because I feel like it should be the same as a structure. So a structure, whatever a structure is, then, cause someone might say, you know, Eric, I don't wanna look at your garage because it's so big. But whatever the maximum structure size, I feel like we should just match that. That way it goes together. It's no different than what it is, you know, whether it be a garage or a solar panel or whatever. And, I mean, I'm not that knowledgeable about solar panels, but I just mean
Neither am I. I'm not anti-solar panel,
Yeah.
I'm just.
So I know for myself, I looked at powering seven of my properties together there, but kind of off-site, like you're describing, but it was, about 600 square feet per property, so I could do all of them for under 2,500 square feet. I think
Okay.
5,000 for residential, that's a lot of coverage.
Way more than you
But it was
need.
like 18, less than 18 panels per place,
Mhm.
18 panels, so that's, yeah, I would think 5,000 for commercial, I mean, residential application is a lot, but, yeah.
You're not driving an electric truck yet, Keith.
I just sold it.
Yeah.
I sold it, it's the shame was overwhelming. Sorry,
It's okay, you can come here and fill up for free anyway.
I just.
You gotta wait.
You gotta wait in line.
I think 18 panels for a standard house.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that was about 2,500 to do all those, you know, rough.
Seven, yeah.
Well, you'd be up over 3,000.
But, yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
close to it.
Yeah.
But he's saying panels are getting more efficient, so they're getting more, less
Yeah.
times too.
Less than 600 square
Smaller,
feet.
yeah.
Maybe so, I don't know.
So let me get this straight, 5,000 for both is what you guys are recommending?
No, that's just what I was trying to,
Oh, okay.
the only reason why I did was because I didn't want a headache of, you know, trying to, between the two different things. I thought I was saving a headache, that's all. But if
it's their headache.
Yeah, but as long as it's not our headache, I guess it doesn't
Believe me, I've
matter.
got plenty of it.
Yeah. As long as it's
I don't need
sufficient,
more.
I mean, that's great. I just,
And Kevin suggests eliminating the on-site, okay.
Yep.
I'll go back to the board with that.
Okay, hopefully you guys can do that. Thank you.
thanks, Mark.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
You're doing a good job, Mark.
Sure beats where it's for the day.
Somehow Eric, I have a hard time with that one.
I didn't swerve at you the other day.
So
Wait, what do
now
you
we
want?
would just put, request the town manager to place
The land use
the land use ordinance on the,
amendment on the warrant for town meeting by referendum.
not as
Not.
amended. Just
Don't
leave
amend
it, just right, place it on there and then we'll discuss the details later.
Yep.
Okay? Or whatever you want on there, Mark.
Is that your motion?
No, it wasn't, but
Oh,
you
come
can.
on.
I make a motion to place the land use ordinance amendment on the on the warrant for town meeting by referendum at the annual town meeting. How's that sound?
Second.
Been moved and seconded
That was kind of vague.
put the amended, or no, sorry, put the land use ordinance,
Amendment.
yeah, amendment, to place it on the warrant for the town meeting by referendum and to recommend passage by town meeting.
But they can change it.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
guess we don't
discussion?
recommend passage, I guess, whatever it turns out to be.
Okay,
But if they have other amendments at their next public hearing, they can, you're saying as amended, are we supposed to?
no, I didn't say, I backed
You
off
did?
from that. I
Oh,
said,
okay.
I said amendment after, I
Oh,
corrected
okay.
myself, I'm sorry.
Alright,
We haven't
we're
specified
not
it yet.
passing
No,
any
no, no,
amendments
no.
tonight, okay, got it.
So if we do recommend changes, it comes back to you guys.
Yes,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
yes, oh boy, this is fun.
Okay, is there any discussion? All is in favor?
Who's that?
Thank you again, Mark.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we have LY management. Same thing as every year?
Yes.
Same thing as every year, when you read your motion, please say 2024.
Oh, what, not the 2023 that's in there?
No.
I make a motion to direct the town manager to advise the Maine Department of Marine Resources that the Tremont Select Board have voted that for the calendar year 2024, Seal Cove Brook shall be closed to recreational fishing for river herring, and that the town will not lease its river herring rights.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to direct the town manager to advise the Maine Department of Marine Resources that the Tremont Select Board have voted that in the calendar year 2024, Seal Cove Brook shall be closed to recreational fishing for river herring, and that the town will not lease its river herring rights. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, next we have the FY25 budget.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, just,
Okay.
okay.
We won't dive into the full budget review.
Darn.
if we want to.
Oh, that's good, Jesse.
Until next Monday, but, just to go over the budget changes in your packet, the over $5,000. On the first page, you have the revenues, so you'll see the first one, motor vehicle excise tax, that's based on the year-to-date receipts, so that's why that's increased. Homestead reimbursement, the state increased the exemption, which in turn increased the reimbursements. Use of your unallocated fund balance, every year for the last several years, you've used an amount of the unallocated fund to offset the property tax for residents. I have not put that amount in yet, since you weren't firm on where the budget's gonna end up with the law enforcement. So last year it was $129,000 out of surplus. The year before that was $155,000. So right now it's in the budget at 0. The idea behind using the unallocated fund balance is to reduce the unallocated fund balance by that amount. I do have the initial budget numbers, audit numbers from Wadman, and we did not reduce the budget by $155,000 for FY23. We increased it by $52,000. So the surplus is still going up, if you want to use an amount, this year as well. Transfers in from revenue sharing, is projected to be down based on, year-to-date receipts and averaged over the last 3 years. This is the amount that, we transfer out of the fund into the budget, and then the monthly amounts from the state go back into the fund, and we try and maintain 3 years worth of deposits in that fund. Federal payments in lieu of taxes, down $7,000 based on year-to-date receipts over the past 3 years. On the expense side, health insurance is projected to be down $8,000 based on rate increase in employees. Contract for police, you'll see in here is with the full Bar Harbor proposal, is that's what was in your initial binder, so that shows the increase of $576 over last year. Planning board is down just over $5,000 due to the comp plan work being finished. That was in the planning board budget line. The harbor management fund, this is down due to taking out the harbor master reimbursement from the harbor. Same with the wharf, which those technically I should move those are revenues. Town manager salary increased based on the new 3-year contract you approved in January. Town clerk salary down slightly due to the staff change that we had going from Katie, who's been here for 7 years, to Sarah. So just the change in that line item is lower this year, as well as, starting, there wasn't a full, clerk for the full year last year due to Katie's hours. Software, I've proposed including some new features for Trio, which is our software cash receiving tax, program. There's an online payment option that I'd like to include and offer the residents, where they can pay their taxes through the website. Also allows them to see their current tax bill, and make payments on the tax bill through the website. There's also an online portal, that gives them access to their property data, so they can pull their tax cards and information like that from our website instead of having to come in and request it from the town office. As well as a mooring feature that would allow us to bill for moorings through Trio. Currently, we have to bill them through QuickBooks, print them, mail them. They would bill similar to the tax bill, print out that way. It's also a little easier. Trio would track who owed us for the moorings. Right now, it has to be, you have to look at the Excel spreadsheet and match it when payments come in. The computer doesn't
Not fun.
register who is and isn't paying. Workers' comp is down based on the average of past years, including a rate reduction, due to the time, span between the last workers' comp claim and the current year. Fire department, the increased request from the department is just over 5,000. You'll see, the next two are your debt services, the MPI road bond and the fire truck bond, have both been paid off. The fire truck gets paid off this June. So as of FY '25, the town has no debt service remaining, zero debt, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
EMR solid waste fees, down, projected to be down based off past year's estimates, estimated tonnage. Same for MRC tipping fees. Town truck reserve, I just lowered, due to the current purchase that you've made being delayed, and due to the estimated, increase to the budget if you went with the full police. If you choose a lower one, I may tweak some other items in the budget, but not by a lot. This one, if you want to tweak, doesn't be too much. Senior tax rebate, you voted to send the senior tax rebate ordinance program to voters at town meeting. It'll be on the ballot. So I recommend setting up a reserve account to pay those rebates out of. We won't know a good estimate until the first year of applications. But in the reserve format, that'll give us the ability to replenish whatever is spent out of the reserve going forward. And you'll see the Southwest Harbor Tremont ambulance that you had previously accepted during your third party, that they increased 11,000 this year.
Okay. How much is in that fund balance right now?
1 million, the surplus one?
Yeah, sir.
1,000,000.
Roughly.
170 total.
Okay.
What's the target range on that?
Yes, it is. Target range is 768 to 922.
So we get at least a couple hundred,
At 1,174,484.
so we get at least 200,000 more than, the target would be maybe 400,000, okay.
And what do we anticipate that we're gonna add to this year? Or does that include already what's?
That includes.
Okay, yep. Alright, and then we'll do the rest of the, we'll go over the budget
Yeah, I figured we could do that.
Yep.
On Monday.
Sounds good. I'm just gonna put my notes on there.
Unless you have any specific changes, you know you would like to. For next week.
How about town manager's report?
Okay. Over the last few weeks, I finished the FY '25 budget wrap-up, preparing the binders. Spectrum was here and installed a new phone system over a couple days. I had a Zoom meeting with Climate Thrive and Island Institute regarding a possible future grant. Meetings to go over the contracts with Bar Harbor and Southwest PD. Attended the League of Towns meeting, met with the island managers regarding a housing discussion, meeting prep, and attended the Harbor Committee meeting. Office staff, the clerk was busy typing the select board minutes, BMV reports, election prep for tomorrow. You're all recruited to help rearrange the room when we adjourn. Election is tomorrow. She did set up the voicemail for the new phone, and attended the training for the new phone with me. Worked on the clerk's report for the annual report, and assisted with the packet and budget record assembly. Public Works, cleaned out the sand shed, received a salt delivery, washed trucks and equipment. Truck 2 was towed to Caldwell's for a new air can replacement. Cut and trimmed trees along Steel Cove Road. Changed the plow steel on 3 and 9. Greased the slangers on 3 and 9. Repaired the block heater on the John Deere. Picked up truck 2. Worked on a wing stand. It's down to put the wing, lift the wing up with the loader each time. It's now hanging on the stand. Treated the roads and took the plow and sander off truck 3 to move traps this week. Coasted the roads and replaced the broom on the sweeper. Harbor Master worked on repairs to the bow of the Harbor Master boat. Did agenda prep for the Harbor Committee meeting. Pulled some traps up from the floats. Measured for pins on the float. On the Marsh Road has to be switched with the one that's in the harbor. Had attended the Harbor Committee meeting. Storm prep for last week's storm. We did have a boat that sunk in the harbor during the storm, so we made some phone calls related to that. It has been raised and removed. Follow up from the storm with some boats that should be checked. We contacted their owners. Some conversations regarding moorings, and MCM was out to repair outlets at the wharf. And over the next few weeks, I will continue the FY '25 budget and town meeting warrant.
Okay, thank you, Jesse. Suggestions for the next meeting? Date of the next meeting?
I'll make a motion to confirm the date of the next meeting for Monday, March 11th, 2024 at 5 p.m. at the town office.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to confirm the date of the next meeting for Monday, March 11th, 2024, 5 p.m. at the town office. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, next we have an executive session entitled Personnel Matters.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session to request the town manager for the select board to find the public discussion of these personnel matters could be reasonably accepted to cause damage to the employee's reputation and or to violate the employee's rights to privacy, and therefore to go into executive session to discuss the employment, appointment, assignment, duties, promotion, demotion, compensation, evaluation, disciplining, resignation, and or dismissal of an individual or group of public officials, appointees, or employees as permitted by 1 MRSA 4056A.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session entitled Personnel Matters as read by Mackenzie. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
I had to look over. I thought you were doing that off the top of your head.
Yeah.
You memorized
I actually
it,
have night, I
Mackenzie?
wake up sweating in the middle of the night sometimes.
Yeah, I left my drink in the truck.
All right, come out of executive session at 7:39. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
The good thing is probably the wife's got all the kids asleep.
Mine?
Not yours.
Oh, I was gonna say, mine will be wide awake.